Welcome back to News in Focus. Now, one individual within the South African National Defence Force who's under fire at this moment is Defence Force Chief Rudzani Maphwanya. Now, of course, last week, Iranian media reported that he appeared to publicly co-sign South Africa to stronger political and military ties with Tehran. As recent as yesterday, the South African Communist Party hit back at critics of Maphwanya, saying his visit was thus justified. Meanwhile, a Government of National Unity partner, Zandi, has called on President Cyril Ramaphosa to show Minister of Defense Angie Motshekga the door with regards to his visit. Joining me now, I'd like to welcome former SANDF Major General, somebody who served within the Defense Force for over 2 decades, Maomela Motau. Major General, absolute pleasure having you on. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Fazal, and your viewership. Lieutenant General retired Motau.
Yes. No, thank you so much, Major General, and absolute pleasure to have Lieutenant General. I beg your pardon, retired Lieutenant Major General. Thank you so much for correcting us there. Lieutenant, I wanna get this corrected. Maybe if you could explain to us, if a Major General or any major SANDF official wants to conduct a visit to a foreign country, what are the prerequisites for that to happen?
Thank you very much. I think it is very important to understand that all relations with the different countries are actually decided by the leadership of the country, and this is actually approved by what we call the National Security Council as a relationship with a foreign country which can continue. And these relationships are therefore understood within the context of the national security strategy. Defense is part of the national security strategy. In reality, if you follow the architecture, defense is one of the pillars of our national security strategy. And therefore, the chief of the defense force or any other lieutenant general or general who visits abroad understand clearly what this task is all about. Actually, before they even leave, they have briefings from what we call Defense Foreign Relations, which is based in defense intelligence. They are briefed as to what to expect and what is that which, as defense, we need to pursue with those countries. It doesn't have to be approved by the president or the Minister of Foreign Affairs. It is understood within the national security strategy of the country.
So my understanding is that the National Security Council, who would head that would be the Minister of Defense, if I stand to be corrected, Lieutenant Major General?
The Minister of Defense definitely sits in the National Security Council. And the National Security Council is supported by officials, and Chief of Defense Force is part of those officials who support the National Security Council. They are actually called the National Security Council Committee. And therefore, they are part of the preparations for any meeting of the National Security Council. And the National Security Council is supported by a structure of intelligence services, which is called NICOC, the National Intelligence Coordination Committee. That structure actually is the origin of the understanding of what happens internationally and what our country should be pursuing as an important program. And together with the National Security Council, NICOC also submits every year what we call the national estimate, intelligence estimate. So the national intelligence estimate goes to the National Security Council, and it is understood by the National Security Council what exactly we are supposed to do in pursuit of our national security strategy.
So my understanding from this, Lieutenant Major General, is that let's just, of course, take General Rudzani Maphwanya. So he is obviously going into this National Security Council. He's being briefed by, of course, his fellow colleagues. And from there, they make a unilateral decision, if I stand to be corrected. So the decision itself wouldn't come from Minister Angie Motshekga. This would need to be, and do correct me if I'm wrong, Lieutenant Major General, this would need to be a unified response or a unified decision by the entire council in order for Maphwanya to have conducted this potential meeting to Iran.
No. And the National Security Council decide on the broad parameters within which all departments, not only defense, all departments must conduct their international engagements. Now, after that, the Defense Force decides on which countries to visit. And in doing so, they actually alert the minister and ask for the minister's permission to visit those countries. And clearly, they know that once we visit countries, we visit them to build good relations. We are not going there not to disagree with those countries. Only defense intelligence is the devil's advocate. They can go there and disagree with different countries. But all other generals are there going there to build good relations with those countries. So going to Iran is not a new thing. It has been continuing since the dawn of democracy. We had good relations with Iran. We posted even an ambassador to Iran. We have an ambassador there. So when our chief goes there, he's going there to strengthen the relations. He's not going there to confront Iran. He's going there to build relations. So what the chief of the Defense Force said there was very clear. There was nothing untoward. There was nothing new. There was nothing untoward. And there's nothing which should shock people. Because all he said, we would like to work together to ensure we strengthen our relationship. We want to work together to fight against terrorism. And of course, he did make a statement to say South Africa doesn't appreciate what Israel is doing in Gaza. That is the policy of the government. There was nothing untoward about that. I do not understand. But the problem really here is that it's not from the general. It's from our own politicians who actually go out in a very dangerous game to go and attack their own general, who actually is supposed to be sitting together with them to discuss issues of international engagement. Now, undermining this top general, that means even his colleagues are shocked. Even defense intelligence, which briefed him, is shocked, I guess. It's shocked. But the reality is our politicians have found themselves in a situation where they think South Africa is a vassal state, where South Africa cannot pursue its own interest, it cannot pursue its own national security strategy. It has to, bow down to other states. In these relations, I'm not sure what is that which forces us. Everybody goes talks to Iran. Even the Americans themselves talk to Iran. Even the Americans want to have good relations with Iran, you know. But why shouldn't we? They had these relations for long. Why shouldn't we be talking to Iran? What is that which the chief said which is wrong?
Well,
Just
after
nothing.
the break, we're going to be asking that question. Has this been politicized, or do the opposition or anyone within the GNU have a right to say what is currently happening with regards to this event that occurred? My conversation with retired Lieutenant General Maomela Motau continues after the break. Welcome back to News in Focus. I'm still in conversation with the retired Lieutenant General Maomela Motau, of course, discussing the trip that the SANDF Chief Rudzani Maphwanya conducted last week in Iran. Again, thank you so much for staying with us, Lieutenant General. I want to touch on the politicization of what has currently happened now. Of course, you mentioned it before we went to the break, Lieutenant General, that of course, whether it's coming from the opposition party or even parties within the government of national unity, calling for Defense Minister Angie Motshekga to step down. The reason why I'm asking this question here is that, of course, you yourself, Lieutenant General, would have conducted military drills or military practices with the United States of America. Currently, Pretoria and Washington is a bit of a knife edge, the relationship at this moment. Is it solely down to the United States' influence within the whole grander scheme of things that these calls from Maphwanya are sort of in many ways justified?
Look, I think we should be very clear that South Africa is in a very dire situation in terms of its own internal politics. It's unusual that a political party in parliament will go and report its own government and country to a foreign country. When the political parties go to America to go and, let me use this way, backstab the country, that is a much more serious. Then it means we do not have any standard of what patriotism is all about. We do not have. You can't have a political party going to report its own country to another country. This is actually treason. It is treason. It is also not correct to try and politicize a thing which is not political. It is not political to what the Chief of Defense Force said in Tehran. There's nothing politics about it. Now, if we're talking politics is everything which we do, whether it's planting spinach in the country or buying whatever, it's politics. But what people want to do is to make it like it's unusual for Chief of Defense Force to say to a country, we would like to have good relations with you. That is part of the defense diplomacy. Defense diplomacy is about building good relations with other countries. Now, I'm not shocked about these wishy-washy political parties which jump on the bandwagon and try and join the DA and Freedom Front Plus in trying to badmouth South Africa and make South Africa look like we are a vassal state of the United States. Our relationship with the United States are conducted in the normal way of conducting that thing. We cannot be behaving like we have to hope not to try and impress the United States on what is our international relations with other countries. It can't work like that. The United States knows better than us, perhaps, that we are friendly to Iran, we are friendly to Russia, China, we are friendly to Turkey, we are friendly to Vietnam. The United States knows that. They know it very well. if they want to apply pressure for us not to be in BRICS, does it mean we are going to move out of BRICS? The answer is no. We are pursuing our national security strategy. And that national security strategy doesn't depend on one department. It's a mistake to think that foreign relations, the Department of International Relations and Cooperation is the only department which understands the national security strategy. It is incorrect. It is the duty of all departments, whether it's economic, whether it's defense, whether it's treasury, we will all be guided by our national security strategy and what the National Security Council says about what we should do. It is dangerous to try and undermine and turn generals like they are buffoons. It is very dangerous. It's very dangerous, not only because it makes our military to lose confidence in the leadership in the country, but it is dangerous to make other countries undermine our generals, that they are buffoons, they cannot be allowed to talk. What all others. When we receive guests from outside, they come to us because they want to build relations with us. We have exercises with the Americans. We have got exercises with the Russia. We have exercises with Brazil. We have got exercises with any other country which is willing to have exercises with us. It is not something new. This cowardice, which is starting to be displayed by our own people, and allowing these political parties which go around bad-mouthing the country to still remain in parliament and government is a dangerous thing to do.
Lieutenant General, let's just say this was another country. I'm going to take a random island country. I'm going to take Samoa, for example. If General Maphwanya went to Samoa and conducted a very similar strategy, very similar discussion, I think we wouldn't be having this discussion, would we? But the fact that it's Iran, would you agree with me that this has caused a bigger storm than probably it wasn't supposed to be? Given that, of course, Iran had just come out of a 12-day war with Israel, and the United States, along with many European countries, of course, ramping up pressure on Tehran to lower its enrichment of its uranium. Is it as simple as that, Lieutenant General?
Let's start here.
Yeah.
President Putin met President Trump in
Alaska. Yeah.
This morning, I think, or yesterday, he had a meeting with the whole of NATO to tell them the outcome of that. And now, President Trump is a member, is a leader of a leading country in NATO. And most of the NATO countries are against Russia. They're supporting Ukraine. And our country, which is a member of SADC, invited the president of Ukraine. Why would that happen? Because we are pursuing particular strategy of dealing with different countries in the world. Now, Israel attacks Iran. Does it mean because of that, we now need to be afraid to talk to Iran because we are afraid of Israel? No. We will criticize Israel. They attacked Iran, and Iran retaliated in a very unexpected way. And the Americans tried to come on the side of Iran. It didn't work. But they had to go back and ask Iran for negotiations. That is how the world works. That's how the world works. We are not going to sit down here and frightened that we cannot talk to other people because they were disagreeing with other countries. We are not going to do that. We can't do that as a country unless we are a vassal state. We are not a vassal state. The people who are actually pushing our government against President General Maphwanya actually are in the government of national unity is the DA, which DA gets into a plane, go to America to report South Africa, that South Africa is not doing the right way, America must punish South Africa. And we get frightened of that. Instead of dealing with the DA. If I were a president, the DA delegation which went to the United States will not have come back to South Africa. They wouldn't have come back because they pay their loyalty to the United States, they must stay there. Here we want people who are loyal. Maybe we have made mistakes. Maybe they are dual citizens. Maybe that's the mistake we did of him having dual citizenship, people who don't pay total loyalty to their own country.
Lieutenant General, one final question. The calls for Minister of Defense Angie Motshekga to step down or to be axed, is that too premature from the various political parties?
There is no, there's no reason for that to happen. What did she do wrong? I mean, on this issue, I'm not talking about other issues. Maybe if they were calling her to resign for other issues, we could discuss that. But if it is on the Iran issue,
yes, it is.
It is again. It is again the politics of the DA of trying to please the Americans and the Israelis. That is the and our president cannot continue unless he wants the people to totally lose faith in him, continue to accept to be dictated to by descendants of those who colonized us and kept us for more than 400 years. And they think we should remain a colony of those countries who supported them through the years of struggle.
Lieutenant General, always a pleasure having you on. Thank you so much for joining us on News in Focus on Hilaal TV.
Thank you very much. All the best.
That's a retired Lieutenant General from the South African National Defence Force, Maomela Motau, just giving us his views, of course, on Rudzani Maphwanya's trip to Iran. Well, that's all we have for you here on News in Focus from myself, Faraz Patel, and the rest of the team in Johannesburg. Tomorrow is Talking Point. If you've missed this episode, you'll be sure to find it on our YouTube channel. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.